Linda Kaiser, and welcome to The Circle. Our regular panelists are Shelley Evans and Catherine Harris and Mary Beth Lord. And tonight we are going to be talking about the Dakota Pipeline. And just so everyone understands what is going on, I would like to read a short excerpt that I found in last month's National Geographic, an article by a woman named Erica Larson with great photos. So, you should go there and check it out. As currently proposed, the Dakota Access Pipeline would move oil out of northwestern North Dakota through a 30-inch pipe along a 1,200-mile path that cuts through both Dakotas, Iowa, and a stretch of Illinois before meeting another pipeline in the town of Patoka. It would carry nearly 500,000 barrels of domestic sweet crude oil every day. And the project's builder, Energy Transfer Partners, says it will bring back money. Whatever we do, we need jobs, right? The Texas-based company says the pipeline will create up to 12,000 jobs. The Army Corps of Engineers approved the project and agreed. They said the pipeline would also generate $120 million in property and income tax every year. And they say it is a safer way to move oil than moving it by train, which is the current option. The Standing Rock Sioux tribe tells another story. That tribe, made up of Hunkpapa Lakota and Yanktonai Dakota, lives in the Standing Rock Indian Reservation, which covers part of North and South Dakota. Their members have been protesting the pipeline since April. They are worried it might leak and contaminate wells along the pipe's path, threatening their water supply. With the environmental protection group Earth Justice, the tribe filed suit against the Corps of Engineers in July, saying the Corps violated not only the Clean Water Act, but the National Historic Protection Act and the National Environmental Policy Act. In addition to water concerns, the suit says the pipeline crosses areas of great historical and cultural significance. The protest simmered for months and exploded in early September when video surfaced of private security using dogs and pepper spray on protesters. Since then, coverage of the protest has increased, with stories appearing on national news and even The Daily Show. A federal judge has halted the pipeline's construction. I don't know if it's still that way, but we'll talk about that. A number of museum workers, historians, and archaeologists have encouraged the White House to order a more thorough review of the potential risks to artifacts. Standing Rock Sioux representatives recently addressed the United Nations Human Rights Commission, and the tribe is one of several in the United States and Canada to join an alliance against future oil pipelines. The protest has grown. There are now thousands of people from all over the country taking part, a collective of people and all tribes from all over that believe in nonviolent direct action. Mary Beth, a grandmother from Pennsylvania, felt called to go to North Dakota. So Mary Beth, take it away.
Hi, yeah, thanks for that great synopsis there. From being out there, I realize exactly what Linda's reading there, that there's two distinct sides to this story. One is the one that I side with, that the Native American people have been here for eternity, basically, watching over our planet, watching over the water, the soil, the air, honoring it, loving it. And all of a sudden, through greedy corporations, we're seeing what's happened. They're laying these pipelines all around the country, and they're leaking daily. The problem is that it doesn't come out in our mainstream media. But when you go out and do any research, you'll see just how many leaks there are every day, and it's scary. So when I started hearing about, the possibility of this pipeline going under the Missouri River twice, and the thought of not if it leaks, but when it leaks, that largest river is going to be contaminated. And there are millions of people that get their fresh drinking water from the Missouri River. So, something inside of me just, lit up. And I thought, I have to go. I've got 5 little granddaughters that need clean, fresh drinking water. All of our children, all of our animals, all of our plants, everything that, we need to sustain life on this planet comes from our sacred waters. And if there's ever a reason to get involved in anything, I think this is it. And, Standing Rock has become more than just a protest against greedy corporations trying to bully their way into our land and ruin and our sustainability. It's really become about these tribes, which before colonialization, these tribes were at war with each other, and a lot of those tribes still have very negative feelings about each other. But because of this cause, and because it was prophesized at this time that the Rainbow Nations would come together, all of these tribes now are meeting at Standing Rock, and the healing that is going on between them is more about the healing that's going on for our entire world. And, I started reading about it, and I just was so compelled that I just told my family that, I need to go. And I was very fortunate that my sister-in-law stepped up the day before I was leaving and said that she was going to go. So we packed up our car and took all of our camping equipment and everything that we thought we would need. And we drove for 3 days to go to North Dakota. And the funny thing was, I had no preconceived notion of what I'd be met with. I had no idea really, what it would look like, what it would feel like, what I would do, how I would even introduce myself, just showing up there in my car. It was the oddest thing, but none of that mattered. It's like divine guidance. So we went and we pulled into camp, and luckily one of the Global Mission of Peace members, Pushkara, had told me about one of the camps there that was the Rosebud Camp. And it's a very prayerful, loving group of people. They're not, they don't really go out on the front line that much. Some of them do, but really they stay at camp and hold the space for those who get involved. They stay in prayer, and it's so beautiful to see it. So we went and we pulled in, and we were met by wonderful people. They made us feel right at home. They told us where we could set up, and the 2 of us set up our tent, which was something, and it stayed, and it was amazing. And then we went and just sort of started introducing ourselves. And at first the women were pretty friendly. The men were a little standoffish, which that's the warrior nature. I mean, they are really trying to protect their camp, and they don't know who's coming in, and so they keep a real watchful eye on everybody, which is good. And, after being there, I do realize that they are having a problem with people infiltrating into the camps and getting out information as to, what might be planned for the morning or whatever. So they're really there to thwart the efforts of the protectors. But yeah, I mean, we got right in there and involved and started cooking and really met everybody. And just, I can't even tell you, it's just a warm and loving and very accepting feeling when you get there. And I could actually cry. I love these people so much. I can't even express to you how kind they are.
Let me read one thing that I found in the National Geographic article while you compose yourself here. There's a gentleman named Chase Iron Eyes of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. He's running for Congress. And he's one of many Native Americans seeking federal office across the country this year. And here's his quote. And, for those people who want national security, they should listen to this. Here's what he said. We do not have energy security unless we have water security. We do not have food security unless we have water security. We do not have national security unless we have water security. I say this with the truest of intentions, because when you look at who we are fighting to poison from coming into our homelands, and this is all of our homelands. America, you are 240 years old. We have been here since time immemorial, and we have been telling you that you can get by love what you have taken by force. How's that for a message?
Wow.
Love that.
And
I
that
do
is
too.
the daily message there, Linda. That's what, is prayed about every morning. It's what it's prayed about in the sweat. It's what's prayed about when people are out on the front line. I mean, they are so intelligent and so in touch with reality and nature and earth.
I like
Yeah, I mean, we're so busy worrying about, what wardrobe do we have in our closet and what car are we going to buy and what show are we going to watch and, are we going to get a big promotion at work? I mean, in reality, none of that stuff matters if you have no water. If you have no clean water, you can't drink oil. You can't sustain yourself without water. And so he's right. Everything goes back to water.
We'll talk a little bit about the use of force, because the woman that was quoted in this article said that she saw the use of excess force, the use of dogs, the use of pepper spray, and to see and know that this was being done in a peaceful environment speaks volumes about how we have treated the Native Americans in our country in the past. I mean, we've done despicable things. The people who came here, I live in a town where a lord from England dipped somehow blankets in smallpox and gave them to the Indians to kill them. That's not very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so here are these guys trying to protect our water. What are we doing? I mean, yeah, we have environmental water groups. I don't want to say we don't, but these guys have come together in a very interesting way, correct?
Yeah, and it is the Native Americans that really are leading this, but I don't want people to think that that's all it is. I mean, when we were there, there's people from all around the world there. They are coming from everywhere. People around the world understand the importance of what's happening at Standing Rock. And yes, the initiative was started by the Native Americans, and they will not give up. But I want people to understand that this is a human issue, and we all have to get involved. Every one of us has to do something. If you can't physically get there, there are still things you can do. You still have power in your voice. You can call and be relentless. Call every day. Call your Congress and Senate and, president. Call these, large companies, vote with your dollars. I mean, spend the money on the companies that are trying to do things the right way to help humanity and to keep us clean. There are products that are out there that are clean that we can buy. And, but about the violence, I have to tell you, Sharon and I went on the front line many days. And the odd thing was the 2 days that we didn't go on the call because we were doing interviews or we're busy with something else, are the 2 days that all the major arrests took place, which I find that kind of weird in retrospect, that we were there every day and we were met with all of the force. We were met with, 100, riot police standing there with, rifles and tear gas canisters on their back and, big, huge vehicles with, all kinds of, sound frequency weaponry on there and big buses to use for paddy wagons to take us all the way. And, police and national, I mean, the force was unbelievable. And when I tell you that there was no violence, I'm not just saying that. I know it's reported over and over and over and over that these protesters are not violent. It is the truth. They go out there, we meet and we do a huge prayer service all together before we get in our cars. And there's saging and there's drumming and there's praying and there's singing and, and just lots of speech about, please, keep your wits about you. This is about love. This is about healing. This is about saving our water. And you can't meet force with force. Just stay calm. And so everybody goes out and, there's just holding signs and drumming and talking to the police officers saying, we love you. We know you're doing your job, but we're doing this for you and your future generations too. And, just like there's a difference in every human being, there's differences in these police too, because some of them are very soft-hearted and that they don't want to be doing this. And there's others who cannot wait for the opportunity to arrest people. So I have to tell you that we did not see the actual arrest, the 2 days that all of the arrests were happening while we were there. And, I look in hindsight, it's a blessing. The one day that we didn't go out, we had heard that Grandmother Teresa had been arrested, and she was from our camp, and we knew her well, and we knew that she had some medical issues. So we hopped in our car and drove to Mandan and went in to see if we could help her. And basically no. And I know I've told this story before, but I'll just say it quickly. When we were met, I pushed the buzzer on the front door and said what I needed. And the lady said, yes, come on in, get in the elevator and come to the second floor. So we went in, and as soon as we got in there was a police officer, and he said, you're not allowed. And I said, well, we were just buzzed in. And he looked really quizzical. And so he said, well, what do you need? And I was telling him, and he said, no, there's nothing we can do. And so I had a conversation with him about how did he feel about arresting these people. And he just kind of shook his head. And I said, you do understand that they're doing this for you, right? And he said, yes. And I said, is this something that you're going to continue doing? He said, look, I really can't talk about this. And I said, I understand. And then I said, well, how do you feel about the CEO of Nestle saying that humans have no right to the water? And he was holding a bottle of water, and he said, like this. And I said, yeah, how do you feel if someday you're paying $10 for that bottle of water? And he just shook his head. And then another officer came over who was not so kind. And so this nice man said, here, let me write down this number and you can contact me. And I just said to him, I know you have a really good heart. I can feel it. And he smiled, and we left. And then as we were going out, we realized that Shailene Woodley had been arrested. And she's the actress from the movies Divergent and Snowden. And so, we decided we were going to wait outside of the correction facility to see if Teresa Black Owl was going to be released. So when we were standing out there, Shailene actually came out. So I talked to her for a little bit, and she's just such a lovely, lovely girl. And I just told her how grateful I was that somebody so young was using her power the way that she was. So we talked a little bit. And then we found out that Teresa was not going to be released anytime soon. So we got in our car, and we're heading back, and Sharon said, wouldn't it be, it's so strange that, they would arrest Shailene, because that's going to bring so much attention to this. And I said, yeah, and I think it was a really good officer that did it, knowing that this would get out. Well, we're driving along, and Sharon got onto Shailene's website, and the pictures were there. And here, the man that we had just spoke to, that really kind-hearted officer, was the one that was standing next to her in all of the pictures of her arrest. So I thought, wow, the universe is really amazing how it gives you little insights into things. But yeah, the violence is really bad. Amy Goodman, who's the reporter for Democracy Now!, was arrested, and she's coming out now, and she's stating that, the people who are being arrested are not being treated humanely. Grandmother Teresa had her hands tied behind her back with one of those plastic zip ties, and she said her hands were hurting, and she was really uncomfortable. And luckily, a woman police officer came over and undid those and put them on gently for her. But they are not being treated well. They are being strip searched for misdemeanors, for trespassing, which there's absolutely no reason other than to humiliate them and make it so uncomfortable that they'll give up. But they won't give up. Even David Archibald, who is the tribal leader of the Sioux Nation, he was arrested and strip searched and humiliated. And so, I'm just looking at, I don't even know what to say, the hearts of these people in North Dakota that are running this. It's just despicable. When we would be there at an event that we had participated in, and we saw how kind and loving and all that it was, we would go back and we would read these reports or hear these press releases coming out from, from the sheriff's office or from the governor's office or from this, whatever his name is, Darrell Lies, who's with the Farm Bureau. And they were just lies, saying how they were out there with tomahawks and how they were attacking the police. And just, you hear this stuff on the news and sometimes you're like, you're not sure if you really believe it. But when you're there and you see it with your own eyes and you're participating and you get to know the people and what their initiative is and what their demeanor is, and then you see how they're treated, it is just horrible. And to think that this is America.
A minute. Okay, let me just jump in here. We're talking about why there's a big deal going on here, and I want to make a point. In 2005, maybe it was later than that, but there was an article in the newspaper, and I don't know if I saw it in the Wall Street Journal or where, but what happened was one of the Bush daughters, I believe, went to Paraguay, bought 298,840 acres. So why do you think that might be? Strip malls in the dozens, tracks of identical houses from horizon to horizon, fleets of Buicks and Cadillacs. Or maybe the Bush clan had something else in mind when they purchased all that acreage in the remote Chaco region of Paraguay. It does seem like an unlikely retirement destination, right? It is a semi-arid, sparsely populated area known to the extent that it's known at all for its abundant wildlife, rapid deforestation, nothing in particular but what lies under it. Mm-hmm. And what lies under it is called blue gold. Bush bought the rights to a veritable ocean of fresh, clear as glass, grade A water. His land rests atop one of the largest freshwater aquifers in the world, Acuífero Guarani by name. Acuífero Guarani covers 460,000 square miles under parts of Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina. It is estimated to contain about 8,900 cubic miles of water. If you can't imagine 8,900 miles of water, picture a pool nearly 3 times the size of California, and that will give you a decent idea of what the Bushes now own. That's a fair amount when you consider that 98% of this planet's water is salt water. Of the other 2%, almost 87% of it is trapped within glaciers, so it's inaccessible. So what high-level intelligence the Bush family has that enables them to be privy over the years to all of this conversation, that they would go out and buy hundreds of thousands of acres of water rights in a remote South American country. So there you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
so
really
awesome. Far off when you said that guy would be paying $10 for a bottle of water. It's got to get shipped from South America. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Shelley.
No, so there's so many important points to jump in on here. I'll just start with where you finished there, the $10 bottle of water. Well, that's really fortunate if we even have water other than the Bush's owned water. So I come from Alberta, and this is heavily oil and gas population. Everybody earns their income, and their entire career and life has been based on this oil and gas. But what I want to say is they think that they have to preserve their job they're saying for their children, but what they're doing is creating they're devastating the world that they're leaving for these children. They claim they're doing the job. You know what? There's so many alternatives to this. Mm-hmm. And I understand they need to take it one step further and recognize what is the world that your children are inheriting. So I mean, that aside, the Hopi prophecy is that when the grandmothers speak, will be the time of the great healing on the planet. So I love that. And Linda, I love that you are speaking and that you brought this information forward. And Mary Beth, all of us, what we're seeing across the planet is the women rising and the women speaking. The Tibetans also have, I mean, there's cultures all around the world that share the same prophecy. When the women regain their voice is the time of the great healing. So White Tara is the goddess of compassion, and it is said that when 1,000 White Taras or 1,000 goddesses join again, or they tone on the planet, our planet will change from one of fear to one of compassion. So here's my point. It's about balance. So if we were to look at Tibet and the land of the Hopi, you will find that they are directly across. You can draw a straight line to them. Okay, the Tibetan word for love is the Hopi word for hate, and the Hopi word for love is the Tibetan word for hate. It's not about condemning any one person. It's about the balance. It's about bringing left and right brain hemisphere into balance. It's the wholeness of who we are. And so the return of the feminine includes the men. You know, it's that feminine, the female energy is about healing and nurturing and loving and caring and touching and sharing, right? And so the spiritual world leaders that are rising now are the women, and it's for a reason.
And it's so beautiful out there. Whenever...
Sorry, Mary Beth, carry on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say what you're saying is how it is out there. When you're at the front line, the men always say, women, children, and elders, get in the middle. Let us protect you. And so the men will surround the women. And, you know, the women's voices are what's being heard. The women are chanting. The women are talking directly to the police. But it's the men that are protecting. And I think that's exactly where we're going.
And that's the balance, and that's the harmony of what we need. You know, it's that tier of surrender when we let go. That's who White Tara represented. I mean, there's all the rainbow. There's the rainbow Tara, right? But it's our tiers that of surrender that are so important to the cleansing and the nourishing. You know, that's what dissolves the fear when we can let go. And so the unknown, right? I mean, the men don't know how to allow the women to come forward. I'm sure that's a frightening scenario for them. But when they step into that role of protection, they feel it deep within them that, yes, this is right. And when the women speak, they feel it deep within them, yes, this is right. It's a natural progression. We're on our way.
We are on our way. And, you know, the thing that I want people to think about is, like I said before, you may not be able to be there in person, but there's just so much you can do. You know, call your local radio stations and television stations. We have got to get more coverage on this. I know Amy Goodman did show up on MSNBC yesterday with Joy Reid, so that was a big step in the right direction. And I saw that there was a award ceremony last night that Shailene Woodley was being honored, and that it turned into a whole segment on Standing Rock, and it was beautiful. And afterwards, she just said, come on, it's time. All the news media has got to get out there. You know, all the actors and actresses, get out there. You know, you've got to go in numbers. And it is true. You know, it's wonderful that these people are showing up one at a time, and it brings a little attention. But my vision is that they band together. They go out there with all their millions of followers watching, and they educate people as to what is really happening at Standing Rock. And the thing is, Standing Rock is just, you know, it's the news of today, but this is happening everywhere. You know, these pipelines, it's not just the one that's going down through the Missouri. These are happening all over our planet, and they're bursting all over our planet. And, you know, if you can't get to North Dakota, you find one near you. I live in Pennsylvania, and we've got the fracking here. I mean, there's, you know, you don't have to travel far to find an area that's being decimated by this. So, yeah, I just say pray. We all have to pray, but more than that, you've got to use your voice right now. Don't remain quiet through this.
Right. And that voice, I mean, there are people there and across the planet, there in Hopi land, also in South America, who for generation after generation, 24/7. They've done circles of prayer. That's all they do all day long. They pray for the planet. They pray for the water. They pray for the people. These people that were attacked yesterday, the police with their batons and the pepper spray, attacking these people who were praying. But yet it's still a positive sign, because the healing that's going to take place has to be seek not to fight evil. Don't fight it, right? We know that. We understand it.
Mm-hmm.
We're letting goodness take its place. We're not.
You're right. It's the healing that we have to, pray for those that are the abusers, that are the aggressors. They're the ones that need the healing. And I agree with you, Shelley. It is about, that's what the Indigenous people know, just what you're saying. It's the prayers. It's that intention. It's that energy going to change the hearts of these people, because otherwise it's going to be a continual fight and a continual aggression that will never end. And I believe the way that it ends is through love, just like you're saying, through love and through prayer. And that's what they know that they're bringing to us now. That's
Remember the song One Tin Soldier? One Tin Soldier? They killed everybody, and what was left was, the message was peace, people. It's peace. Everybody wants peace except the corporations and the people who want to line their pockets. Everybody else across the planet wants peace, period.
Yeah.
Well, what we need to do is we need to find some really good companies and corporations that are doing right by humanity, and we need to get their names out. We need to show people that this isn't hopeless, that you can make lots and lots of money by doing what's right. You don't have to destroy things to make money. And when I know that we can make these plastic products, from corn and from hemp, and, people are like, we can't live without oil. Well, yes, you can. You're just programmed to believe that you can't live without oil. We have a surplus of oil, and we have sustainable, alternative energies. You're just not aware of them. They're not in your home. You're not seeing them. I said, but even out there at the camp, the main tents were set up with solar. A solar company came in and put up the panels so that there was electricity, and people could have lights and, charge up their cell phones and their cameras so that they could go out and, get the message out to everybody. So it's here. It's just not talked about. And, we've got to educate people, and we've got to go and find these really great corporations and start bringing them into the light and letting them, giving them a platform so they can speak, because it seems like the only things we ever hear are the negative. We need to start having a platform for these amazing companies so people know who to buy from.
Not only companies, amazing people. There's people that have, for the cost of an iPhone, you can purchase a wind turbine now that will power your entire house. I mean, there's a constant array of this technology. It's not even technology. I mean, it's really simple stuff. And that's a good sign that that we're receiving it, because in the past they would have been eliminated, and we would have never even heard about it. So I do feel like it's a positive sign. But there's the women are the givers of life, and we understand that we're not going to send our children into war. We don't want our fathers and our brothers going into war. It's time for the women to be empowered to just speak, just stand up.
Well, I want to say, and there is an organization called Waterkeeper, and it was started by Robert Kennedy Jr., and it was started in 1966 when a lot of veterans who were recreational fishermen were doing outspoken citizen-led advocacy to clean up the Hudson River. And they actually hired patrol people to go up and down the river and find the polluters and bring them to justice. And today the Waterkeeper Alliance has 290 waterkeeper organizations and 300,000 members. And not only that, they have programs already in place where you can partner with them, you can do an internship with them. So it's waterkeeper.org. It's Waterkeeper, not plural, but just waterkeeper.org. So I would encourage everyone to go to that website and read it and understand some of the legal action that's going on, because it's a lot of attorneys are in that. But also, I want to hear what Catherine has to say about this.
Oh, well, thank you, Linda. I love that about the water keeper. I mean, they should be at Standing Rock. I hope they are.
Probably are.
They should be making a big noise about this. And, you know, in 2012, in fall, October or November, was when the meme, I don't know if you ever saw this meme, it was Idle No More. That was something that began to come out from the nations as kind of a message saying, we're not going to keep just standing by and watching. We're ready to act. And so now here we are 4 years later, and it's gone from idle no more to full throttle is what I call it, because, you know, the allies that are showing up, because they recognize that this is such a fundamental struggle for humanity against the machine. In the Kali Yuga, it's the machines that are important, and it's the people that are disposable. And we're all saying, no, that's not the real way. So it's just been thrilling to see the reunification of the tribes. That's so incredibly touching to see that prophecy coming to pass after 500 years of pain. And, you know, Black Elk, he said it, and I think Sitting Bull, you know. So this is just so important, so significant. And it's because they've come back together as their family that now the rest of us can support what they're fighting for, what they're standing for. And I mean, they just have my total respect.
Well, it's interesting to me that the state of North Dakota is acting as a trustee for the company rather than an unbiased observer. They're actually supporting the company's right to build this pipeline rather than standing back and saying, what's going on here? How can we do this? So that's not okay. I don't expect my state to send government state patrolmen in to protect business.
There it is. There's the corporation running the government. That's exactly, you know, there it is.
And as of today,
all the governments are just corporations. All the countries actually are. I certainly know the provinces of Canada are. They're listed. You can look them up. They're listed corporations. But you know what? We're considered the rainbow warriors, are we not? Because we're coming from all, well, that battle really begins within yourself to find your own truth. And that's where the healing takes place, is within every single individual on the planet. Including,
well, you know, it's so weird. That sheriff said they arrested 83 protesters during a riot. And yet, when you look at the pictures, there's no riot.
right.
It's all peaceful.
not only that, Morton County Jail only holds 30 people. So now these people are being taken to Bismarck, to Fargo. They're going all over, which is going to make it much more difficult for the legal teams, because there's legal aid there at the camp. And they go and, you know, get the people out on bail and do all that. So now they're going to have to be traveling all around the country to do this. So, and a video this morning by Myron Dewey was going out to the site, and here is a South Dakota police car. So he was saying, why are you here? And he said, we've been commissioned by the sheriff. And he said, but the sheriff is North Dakota and only Morton County. So you can see how deep this runs. And then the other day, Heidi Heitkamp and a bunch of the other Republicans out in the state there sent a letter to President Obama insisting that he gets rid of these, you know, protesters, and that they continue the building of this pipeline, and they're demanding it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you're voted in to represent the people of the United States. You're not voted in to represent the corporation and your investments. And it is just, it really, you don't want to be angry. You want to stay in peace and you want to stay in prayer. But when you see these blatant things going on, I can't help it. It just, that grandmother part of you just says, not in my name. My children are going to have a place to live. They're going to have a clean environment. And I don't care really how you've invested your money or what you may lose if these oil companies go out of business. That's not really my problem. My problem is sustaining a healthy planet for humanity. And so, it is time that people wake up and realize when you are voting for people, you better make sure who you're voting for. And are they going to be there for you, or are they going to be there for the money? And I think it's, everything happens for a reason, and as upsetting and frustrating as all of this is, I still can't help but be somewhat hopeful because, all of these things were done in the dark before. This has been going on forever. And we've all just been saying, oh yeah, we'll just go buy our oil and we'll just use our plastic and we'll just do whatever. And it must be good because everybody's doing it and blah, blah, blah. Well, now finally people are waking up and saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. And they can't hide. The light is being shown on them. They cannot hide. And now they're making all kinds of crazy mistakes, arresting the wrong people, treating them, really against the law, the way that they're being treated. So now the American Civil Liberties Union is getting involved. There's all kinds of cases coming. And they wrote a letter the other day stating that North Dakota had borrowed $6 million to pay for the extra law enforcement. And they said, well, they better get another big loan coming when all of these trials come about, because they are going to spend a fortune in legal fees when this all pans out. So, and the sad part about it is the people in North Dakota are in fear because of the propaganda that they're listening to on the radio and television. These people are in fear. They're siding with the government. But what they don't realize is they're going to be picking up the tax bill for this. They're the ones who are going to end up paying for all of this, but they're not looking at the big picture. So, but I still have a lot of hope that we're finally at the point where people are actually seeing it now. And once you see it, you can't hide anymore, and it is the truth coming out. And I think it's a lot of the women and the grandmothers that are actually doing this. I think we've all said, that's it, we're done.
Catherine, did you start to say something?
Well, if the earth is female, which we're told that it is, or that it's feminine because it's productive and it gives birth to everything, and the protectors are protecting that. And I love the idea that the protection of the women and children is coming to be seen as the highest value, because everything comes from that. So it's just beautiful that this is organically arising within so many people, women and men, at this time. And it's very exciting and kind of scary and terrifying, but I too feel a wave of hope that there's an awakening and we're going to have a chance to keep our planet. That's all we want, really.
Yeah, it is. Well, we've used up our time, but I do want to say one thing in closing. Thank you all very much. In the National Geographic article, there was a quote by a woman named Ella Mendoza. And it says, Ella Mendoza wears a coat with "Black Snake Killer" written on the back, which alludes to the nickname for the pipeline. Mendoza says, we are here to kill the black snake. The black snake is the pipeline, and it is not just this pipeline, it is all pipelines. When we talk about the pipelines, we mean all unnatural, man-made things on this land. That includes borders and the idea of owning territory and land. Black Snake Killer is really saying, I am not going to make friends with Black Snake. I am not going to reform the black snake. We are not here to befriend politicians. We are not here to change the rules of how the water. We are here to literally stop the pipeline and win. We are making great changes for our children and their children. This is a spiritual battle. This is a big village. Here we have food and we have all our needs met just like our people did a long time ago. And it takes a village to stop the pipeline. And so the call has gone out for every single person to go to North Dakota. It's unlikely that that governor can arrest 5,000 people or 10,000 people. So it's just about getting the message out. So thank you all very much, and we will see you again next week.